Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Karim Kaladi, your clinical and sports psychologist and sleep specialist. Today, we're diving into a crucial question. What makes some footballers quit after failing to reach elite clubs? Talent alone or anything more? In this episode, we'll examine different factors that researchers have studied to understand why some players give up while others persist in their fight. Get ready to discover the science behind resilience in football. Lack of resilience and grit. Resilience and grit are crucial for athletes to persevere through adversity. Without these traits, players are more likely to give up after setbacks. This lack of perseverance often leads footballers to quit when they don't reach top clubs. Lack of resilience isn't the only issue. Rejection of young players has deeper implications. Rejection can be a brutal shock, especially for young players still forming their identity. Negative self-talk and low self-esteem often follow, making it harder for them to bounce back. This negative spiral can prevent athletes from reaching their full potential. And when low self-esteem sets in, another critical factor comes into play: mindset. A growth mindset, the belief that abilities can improve with effort, is key to overcoming rejection. Players with this mindset see setbacks as chances to learn. Those with a fixed mindset, however, may see their abilities as unchangeable and are more likely to quit when they face difficulties. Even with a growth mindset, it's hard without support. Social support is essential for motivation following setbacks. Strong support networks help athletes handle rejection. Without this support, confidence and performance are harder to regain. But support alone isn't always enough when unrealistic expectations loom over a player. Unrealistic expectations and pressure. Extreme pressure and unrealistic expectations can cause burnout and disillusionment. Failure to meet these expectations can demotivate. This is a major reason why some players give up on their dreams. And when the weight of these expectations clashes with a player's identity, the situation can become even more complex. Loss of athletic identity and self-worth. Athletic identity loss is terrible. Footballers might lose their identity and self-worth when rejected. This can hinder their sports career. Such a crisis can be further exacerbated by underlying mental health challenges. Mental health and well-being. Rejection can cause anxiety and depression. This can significantly impair motivation and performance, making it hard for players to continue their careers. And if mental health issues are not addressed, they can lead to burnout, a condition all too common in high-pressure environments. Burnout. Elite sports risk burnout. Emotional exhaustion and poor performance can cause athletes to quit. But beyond psychological considerations, there are also economic pressures that can weigh heavily on a player's decision to continue or quit. Economic factors. Economic pressures can also play a role. The financial rewards of playing for top clubs can create challenges that might lead footballers to give up when they are not selected. These pressures are often magnified when players compare themselves to others who have made it. Social comparison theory. Social comparison also matters. Seeing their colleagues achieve where they failed might make athletes feel inadequate, and the way players interpret these comparisons can further influence their actions. Attributional style. The way players interpret their failures can impact their future behavior. Those who see their failures as due to uncontrollable factors are more likely to give up. This feeling of helplessness can become deeply rooted if the failures accumulate. Learned helplessness and identity foreclosure. Repeated rejection can lead to a state of learned helplessness, where athletes believe their efforts are futile. This mindset can cause them to stop trying altogether, and when athletes define themselves solely as footballers and neglect other parts of their identity, they become more vulnerable to quitting when faced with setbacks. In addition, constant comparisons with peers can further fuel the desire to quit. Pressure from social comparisons. Constant peer comparison might increase failure sentiments. This can make players leave when others succeed. What motivates the player is also important. Is it internal passion or extrinsic rewards? Extrinsically motivated athletes may lose motivation if they don't get money or fame. The love of the game may be a greater, more sustainable driver. And when it comes to motivation, the goals athletes set can make or break their determination. Unrealistic ambitions might make failure feel worse. Setting reasonable goals keeps you motivated, but even with the right goals, some players may feel disadvantaged due to inherent biases in the selection process. Selection bias in football. Football selection bias favors players with stronger physical and technical ability and those born earlier. This can make non-selected athletes feel inferior and quit. And when faced with these biases, how players cope can determine their future in the sport. Coping strategies. Athletes with poor coping strategies are more likely to experience negative emotions and quit the sport when faced with rejection. What does a devastated player do after being rejected? Stigma and lack of aftercare. Rejection often brings feelings of shame and inadequacy, especially when clubs provide little support and aftercare. This lack of support can make the transition out of football career even harder, increasing the chances of players giving up. Finally, let's look at other factors supported by scientific evidence. Research indicates that selected youth players often demonstrate higher levels of self-regulation and lower body fat percentage compared to their non-selected peers. These physical and psychological traits give them an edge in the highly competitive environment of professional football. Other variables like playing position, management issues, injuries, and major life events might affect present and former players' mental health. Depressive symptoms are more common in players who feel marginalized by the system due to these obstacles. Bias exists in selection. These findings underline the complexity of a footballer's journey. While talent is essential, there are many factors at play that truly influence whether a player can overcome rejection and continue to flourish, both on the pitch and in life. It's important to note that these factors can interact in complex ways, and the decision to give up is highly individual. Additionally, the scientific literature on sports psychology is continually evolving, and new theories and evidence may emerge over time. Understanding these factors is key to supporting the next generation of footballers. Thanks for watching, and if you found this episode insightful, don't forget to subscribe for more on the sports psychology and well-being. Until next time, stay strong and keep pushing forward.